Welcome back. Good to have you along. As always, you're watching Ozarks Tonight. I'm David Oliver. Some big news in the city of Springfield today. An amendment has been announced to our Phase 1 recovery plan that allows for more businesses to reopen sooner than we first thought. We're honored to have the mayor of Springfield, Ken McClure, joining us via Zoom for Ozarks Tonight. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Good to be with you, David, as always, and thank you.
I booked this with you a couple days ago, and I just lucked out that you guys made some news today, some pretty big news. The amendment that you all announced today allows for more businesses to reopen. Let's go over exactly what this amendment is going to change now, immediately.
Well, the amendment immediately will allow that we can go to an increase in-person mass gatherings to 25. It will allow an opening of fitness and other classes, dance classes, that type of thing, and what we're calling non-contact instruction. Opening of the sports courts, the non-contact sports playgrounds, and then opening of bars, nightclubs, and microbrewery tap rooms. But it's all with an occupancy limit on that, but we're very pleased to be able to do this.
And let's kind of go over that occupancy limit restriction. It's basically 25% of what the business's category says it can have, or 25 people, whichever is lower, correct?
It's less, that's correct. And so that's a good move.
So you and Health Director Clay Goddard talked about this in your press conference today, basically saying that we're able to do these things now because people have taken this seriously, done the things they need to do to social distance themselves. We've seen a relatively low number of cases of COVID-19 here in Springfield and Greene County. Talk more about the decision process and how you all came to this major change today.
A week ago today, we announced the first phase of our road to recovery. We said that would become effective on May 4th. And that allowed certain businesses that had been closed to open, certainly with guidelines on that. But we also said that we were going to be watching data very closely, that if we could be able to take additional steps downward to open up, we would do so. Clay and his staff have been watching testing data very, very closely. We got some good news on some of the tests that they were running, and good news also from other counties. For example, there were significant tests taken in Phelps County to the north, some counties to the south. And that allowed us really to look at it and said, yes, this is good data. And so we're comfortable moving forward right now with this additional step. The point I want to make is that we want to continue to make steps forward, but it depends at each step on how people are doing and how well that we can assimilate that data in. So this is a good news. We started the discussions actually over the weekend when we were looking at some of the test data, started serious discussion Monday and Tuesday, and then finalized yesterday. So pleased to be able to make this announcement and make it effective immediately.
I mean, I know obviously you're doing this because you even said that we're taking measured steps in the news conference. We're tracking the impact of those steps, and this is a trial and error situation. We haven't been through this before. What kind of pressure, though, were you all getting from some of those business owners who wanted to reopen sooner than May 31st when the Phase 1 order ends?
Well, I don't know that pressure is the right word. What I would say is that we were getting very constructive input. As businesses were saying, you know, right now we can't open, but here are steps we can take that would still be consistent with the physical distancing guidelines, the safety requirements. And we looked at those, each one that came in, very, very seriously. So, for example, fitness club, martial arts, that type of thing, all gave us very, very good information, and I'm pleased with that. You always want to be in a position to take good, constructive input and then react to it. I think we did, and we're learning. We'll continue to learn. We're not going to always get this right. It's trial and error, unfortunately, but I'm very, very pleased with this. So I wouldn't call it pressure. I would call it good, constructive input from businesses and other entities.
Sure, I understand that. A couple of quotes from Clay Goddard during your news conference today. He said, right now the disease does not have the upper hand in our community. He also said, though, you can't get complacent. This disease is still out there. And he also urged people to not engage in non-essential travel. Talk about why that's important, because there's still a concern of this virus being brought into our community from folks who might travel.
Well, travel coming into our community can bring it, but also if we leave our community, for example, I have a daughter living in the Kansas City area. I've not seen them for several weeks. If I were to go up there, Kansas City's in a more strict environment than we are. It would not be safe for me to come back in or perhaps bring that in. So people are urged to, I think, be very, very careful and cautious on travel. Certainly there are trips that need to be made. We understand that for a variety of reasons, but use common sense on that. And as we start to open up, we're going to see more travel risks. For example, we've seen what our Branson neighbors to the south are doing, and I'm happy for them, but that also increases the risk. We've also noticed that we've seen, even today, an announcement in Lawrence County of 6 cases, I believe, in a nursing facility. That shows us that the disease is still here.
We've got about a minute to go, Mr. Mayor. I guess I want to ask you as well about next week, because you all talked about phase 1 goes through May 31st. Then we go to phase 2, and you guys hinted at perhaps middle of next week we're going to learn more about what phase 2 will look like here in Springfield and Greene County.
Yes, David, we're working on what phase 2 looks like in the specific steps. We hope to be able to announce that early to midweek next week, and I would like nothing better than to move that May 31 date closer to the middle or the last part of the month. If we can do that, we will do that. May 31 is a date that we put in to be consistent with the governor, but I want to be able to be just as flexible as we can, again, based upon the data.
We've got 20 seconds. Can you give me one hint at what phase 2 might look like?
Well, it will be increased capacity guidelines as a part of that, certainly. We want to be able to do that and open up more things to more people. And so keeping that within the physical distance guidelines, but I suspect it will look something like that.
Springfield Mayor Ken McClure, our guest tonight. We appreciate your time, and I'm going to invite you back to talk about phase 2 when it happens. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, David. Always a pleasure.
Okay. More Ozarks Tonight after this quick break.